Hi guys, welcome back to Great Expectations via computer video. It's Wednesday for you. I'm not going to be here today, clearly. I'm pretty sure I'm not going to be here Thursday, but that's kind of up in the air. So I guess we'll just cross that bridge when we get there. But anyway, we've got a ton of chapters to get through today. So let's get started. Make sure you get your books out and please turn to page 138. That's chapter 32. Page 138, chapter 32. Okay, so we left off on chapter 31 with Pip getting all kinds of excited that Estella was showing up. And so she does. She shows up in chapter 32. And in chapter 32, Pip tries some one-liners, like she says, "How are you doing?" And he goes, "Oh, I'm doing as well as anyone could possibly do away from you because I just am so in love with you." And she's like, "Oh, seriously, Pip, come on." And the whole time she just kind of talks about how Miss Havisham's relatives hate Pip because they, like Pip, think very understandably that Miss Havisham is his benefactor. And that's bad for them because the money's going to Pip, and that's bad for, well, actually it's good for Estella because for once now the relatives hate Pip and not Estella because they've hated Estella for years. Okay, so we kind of go through this. Estella acts high and mighty and unreachable. Pip acts, mooning and whining and tripping over himself in an attempt to impress her. She does give him a chance to kiss her cheek. She sticks her little cheek out there, and Pip kisses it, and then she goes, "Okay, it's time to go." So, yet again, Pip pretty much strikes out. So that's chapter 32. Chapter 33, Pip and Herbert discuss finances. Pip, as he's getting money, or even in his attempt to look like a gentleman in appearance versus gentleman inside, we've had that discussion. He has really started racking up some debt. New furniture, new clothes, fancy food, this random servant boy that they don't really need but hangs out anyway. So they start talking about debt and how much they owe. And in actuality, they get nowhere. They're like, "Look, we'll put on here that we're doing well, and oh, we're doing well, and let's just forget about it. Shut the book and put it away." Not the best way to deal with debt, but that's how Pip and Herbert do it. At the end of chapter 34, Pip gets a letter, and in his letter, he finds out that Miss Jo has finally died. So, yay, Mrs. Jo is dead. Okay, that's terrible, but let's be honest here. You're all thinking it too. So at the end of chapter 33 there, he gets a letter that says, "Mrs. J. Gargery has departed from this life." AKA, finally, she was a vegetable for years, or at least a year or so, and so finally she's just gone. So that's good. Pip decides, maybe he should go back for the funeral, so he does that. And when he gets back for the funeral in chapter 34, he finds that Biddy's kind of out of a job, right? Because she was the nurse for Mrs. Jo. Biddy's out of a job. Biddy doesn't know what she's going to be doing, and Jo is sad but really happy to see Pip. Eventually, Pip and Biddy go off to talk in the, just kind of walk and talk and spend some time together. And in this little walking, talking discussion, Biddy again calls Pip out. And she pretty much says, "What are you doing? What are you doing? These people only like you if you're a gentleman. Are they even worth it? Why are you acting like this?" She says, she pretty much calls him out. And then further in their little discussion, Pip asks Biddy what Mrs. Jo said. Like, as she was dying, like, how did she die? Was she just fell asleep and didn't wake up or what? And so if you would like to follow along, we're at the bottom of page 145. Look at that. We just blew through like 10 pages. Go team. Okay, so the bottom of page 145, Mrs. Joe is dying. And Pip asks, he says, I have not heard the particulars of my sister's death, Biddy. And Biddy says, they're very slight, poor thing. She had been one of her bad states for 4 days when she came out of it in the evening. Just at tea time, and quite plainly said, Joe. As she had never said any word for a long time, I ran and fetched Mr. Gardry from the forge. She made many signs to me that she wanted him to sit down close to her and wanted me to put her arms around his neck. So I put them around his neck, and she laid her head down on his shoulder, quite content and satisfied. And so she presently said, Joe again, and once pardon, and once Pip. So she never lifted her head up anymore, and it was just an hour later when we laid it down on her bed because we found that she was gone. We're about to have an interruption. You want to say hi to my class? They're going to be, they see you right now. You're going to say hi or what?
Where?
They're there. I'm recording this, and then they're going to watch it tomorrow in class. Say hi.
Hi.
Okay, can you give me 1 second? I have to discuss what just happened in our story.
Okay.
Okay, hang on. Okay, so Mrs. Joe dies, and the last thing she says before she dies is, Joe, you have to pardon Pip. Joe, you have to forgive Pip. So even though this, like her whole life, she's been a crazy person and, you know, was mean and awful and all these things, her last gasp of breath before she dies is, Joe, just forgive him. Like, he's being an idiot, but forgive him. So that's kind of how we see chapter 34 going. And I will be back after I put this little man to bed. Say bye.
Bye.